Hi, my name is Jason Kwame, and I'm the CEO and founder of our Flavour and the filmmaker behind Modern Day Dad. I became a father in 2014, and this role has really opened my eyes as to how society views fathers, especially black fathers. I want to create this film to provide a space for fathers, kids, professionals, and more to talk about the impact that fatherhood's had on their life. This film is in honor of my father, who was an incredible role model to me, who passed away due to complications of diabetes. I wanted to do this film in honor of my father and to help increase awareness of diabetes. Watching this film, you will laugh, cry, agree, disagree, feel all types of emotions. I hope you enjoy this film, and I hope it brings you a new perspective on modern day black fatherhood.
My name is Omari, and I have a little girl who's 14 months old, Marley, and I have an older 14-year-old child named Brianna.
My name is Andrew Brown. I got two kids, 12 and 14 months.
My name is Mark Dunn. My son Isaiah is 3 years old.
My name is Sheldon Sherland. My son is 14 months.
My name is Jason Kwame. My daughter is 22 months. It was funny, Bridget and I were actually going to the doctor's the morning for her checkup, and she had lunch plans after we got there, and the doctor was like checking her around. He's like, "Oh, well, this baby's coming today." And I was like, "It's like, oh snap!" Like, I was like, he's like, she was like, "Oh well, I was planning to go out for lunch with my girl, and and he's like, yeah, he's like, go out for lunch. He's like, it's gonna be your last meal." So that, he was really real about it. It's your last meal. Go out for lunch. So she went to lunch with her girlfriend. She didn't have any pain at the time. It was it was just one of those
Everyday.
Your diet. Yeah, she was dilated, but she was going through her everyday life. I literally just took off, went in, like, I got into this nesting. I was cleaning the car, like, fix up the the place real quick, and then came back to the hospital. They checked us in, and the rest was, history. This rest is history, right?
Fathers before were the breadwinners. They went out, they worked, they came home, they sat down, read the newspaper or watch TV.
The dad was more the disciplinarian, let the moms do all the nurturing and loving and all that other stuff.
Society today do ask that fathers be more involved. And for that, I would say I am really, really proud of my son for the way that he is involved in his child's life, in her upbringing, and also the support that he gives to his wife.
What's your situation expecting of you? And when you have an expectation, then you meet it. So you fill that gap. So if my wife is working until 6 or 6:30, it's my duty and obligation to ensure that A, I pick up my son from daycare, B, I'm able to, at least when she comes home from work, there's a hot meal ready for her, or there's an attempt to have that done. And see that when she comes home after a long day, it's not so much that she has to do anything, but tell me how her day is. And if she wants to add something to it, like by all means, by cleaning or whatever, so be it, that's her choice. But very rarely she's going to come home to that.
I work with families, and I get the parents at my center telling me, my husband will not touch the diaper, or, he won't do certain things. So it's still happening, but I think that we've come a long way.
I think there are definitely men stepping up more in the nurturing role as opposed to just a financial role. And I think that's just because the generation changes and you just have to, I guess, learn to be more, not feminine, but more caring and nurturing. So I do see that shift. But you also see the shift where the women are also bringing money home.
That shift has moved it to, moms not needing necessarily the man. They're able to go out there and be the breadwinner as well as the provider, and deal with their family.
You have to involve your wife in the day and day running of the house expenses and the decision making is important. If not so, what we call things fall apart. The center cannot hold.
If we don't focus on that from that lens, we lose sight of things, and then we start putting labels on people. Or, you're the mother, you should be doing this. I should be coming home from work and having a hot meal.
That would be nice.
I want to take an active role in my children's life because I want my children to achieve. I want them to achieve bigger things that I've achieved, and I want to be a part of that process.
Hopefully, as this generational shift about dads playing roles, women or other people will accept. We know what we're doing. Or give us the space to make a mistake so we can learn.
Father was the one that you went to for knowledge and for information to teach you on various topics. But now, in this day and age, children are more astute and technologically savvy that they are seeking and obtaining this information elsewhere instead of going to their fathers who traditionally used to provide that role and provide that information because you go to the man for the answers back in the day. So that, I believe, has changed.
Our parents had this very, old school Caribbean or African way about them and outlook on parenting. And now here we are in an environment where that doesn't necessarily work, and we're a generation that has one foot in that old world and one foot in this new world. So I think that kind of is the difference that I kind of see.
There's a shift happening. Like, I think women have been working for a long time now. And it still feels like it's a slow shift, but it's shifting. You see people talking about dads changing diapers, and that didn't really happen our parents' generation very much. So, but it's slow. To me, it's a little slow.
Fathers are doing it, but people still react like it's crazy. So I don't know how to describe the shift. There's a lot of dads out there doing good things, but everybody still seems to be shocked when they hear it. So I don't know how to describe the generational shift in that there's a shift in action, but not in attitude.
Our culture's not ready for all of that yet, and that's where we're starting to see a lot of people headbang a little bit. And we start to see youth
funny you say that because if my wife will openly tell you she don't cook. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a problem with that because I like cooking. Sure. So that blows people's minds. Like, you like to cook? Yeah, I'll come home and I'll cook. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if she was home, doesn't matter if she's coming home. I like cooking, it's relaxing, so I do. But yeah, it's funny when she said, I don't cook, he cooks. I only cook enough to eat. Yeah. But when I want a real meal, I wait for him. And they will wait me out. Yeah. All of them. Doesn't matter what's happening. If I'm home, no one will move until I go in the kitchen because they'll wait me out.
But the beautiful thing about that is that allows you to maximize your strengths and talents to help the home function better.
I could see that a mother is very important and there's nothing I can do to take on that role. So I always wonder how women get around that because I'm like, well, you can't do what a father does. How does it get belittled so easily? Because I'm like, I can say that no matter what I did, mom was important. And the fact that he didn't see her created all kinds of issues.
The influence of having a male figure around for my child and myself is very important. It provides a sense of stability, a sense of security, and it also provides something that I didn't grow up with.
Not having a dad there with my mom was a little bit weird.
Unfortunately, I don't know my dad. My mother was raped, so I don't have a relationship there.
The last time I lived with my dad, I was 6. I didn't see him until I was 15 again. And then after that, I didn't see him until I saw him at his funeral. So it made me wonder, like, what did I ever do to you?
A father's love is almost heavily implicated as a mother's love because it just really gives that complete nurturance and that complete support that fosters that child's healthy growth and development.
For you, not having your dad living with us? I was fine with that. I don't know. I had a godfather and an uncle, and then I had like other uncles too, and it was like I wasn't really missing anything.
What I struggled with a lot was knowing how to be a good partner because I didn't see that. I struggled a lot having trust of male figures and male role models.
I don't think until fathers really sit down and value and look at their role in their children's lives that they really understand what a gap it is when they leave.
I'll be trying to like make us closer, I guess, but he's trying harder than I am. In a way, I'm like disengaged, like not because I want to, because you just have that wariness, or like, but you weren't here that much, so like, I sort of trust you, but not yet.
If you were there a little more, then maybe I would be there a little more. And I'm not using it for spite, it's just something I'm used to.
In all of the clients that come through the door and I have to work with, 95% of the time, the fathers are absent. And then you see that manifest in the child.
That is the constant thread of the poetry that they write, of the discussions we have informally, of the sad moments where they don't choose to talk. And it's those moments where, as much as we might try to move students forward, that the significance of those people in their life, you can't measure that.
That presence of that father's in that child's life, and more importantly, the involvement of their father, it mitigates all the issues that could arise for this child when developing behaviorally.
When I can get to a father and I can pull the father into treatment, you'll see the shift of this child so much faster.
My primary focus was just for them to bond. So seeing her and him now, I appreciate it, and even if the financial aspect of it is not all the way up there, just the fact that he's putting out more than 100, trying to bond with her is just, I'm in awe with that, because that's what I've always wanted, for them to have a relationship.
With my father passing in my early 20s, at that point in my life, there was a lot of things that I would have loved to, been able to talk to a man about that I just couldn't talk to my mom about. You know what I mean? You don't want to talk to your mom about, the guy's going away and there's been a bunch of girls and who knows what happened. You know what I mean? You can't have that. You can have it, but you can't have that conversation. It's not the same conversation. And I know for myself, it's influenced the way I parent my own daughter now, just because of like that fact of you don't know when you're gonna go. So I really try and make an effort to instill values at an early age, because I might not be here later on, so.
Also for me, when I was born, my father was incarcerated. And so I never had a dad at all. So it was really important to me that I was there for my girls, because I know what all these things that I missed myself, and always wanting to have that figure that you could talk to. I mean, I did have my grandfather, my uncle, guys that I could talk to, but it's not the same. You want your father, you know what I mean? And so for me, I'm so glad that, I have two beautiful girls and that they look to me, and we can have, with my older one, we can have conversations that she couldn't have with her mom. I can give her advice, I help her with her math, her literacy, when she's got, things going on with boys and stuff. She's in grade 9 now, so just adjusting to all of that life. She feels comfortable coming and talking to me. And as much as I thought that I wouldn't be able to handle it, I love it. I love that she can come to me and talk to me about those things. And I love that when I come home, this little girl is so excited to see me, and she's so upset when I leave. So for me, it's so important, and I couldn't imagine not being there, not being involved. And so I'm so blessed. I feel so blessed to have these girls.
Even in summer days, he'd bring workbooks for us to do, and then we'd play teacher in school because
they're bored.
So
classes.
So it was always education. So even till now, it's even if you've finished your undergrad, which we all have, it's okay, what next now?
MBA,
Masters, and
MBA.
it's constantly over and over and over again. I think it's because of what he's instilled, that education does set you free, especially in Canada.
I tell myself, if my dad could have done it, I can do it. If I have children and I have to balance life and work, if my dad could do it with 3 girls and 1 boy, I certainly can do it.
Growing up with a man shows you that you don't necessarily need to always not depend or rely on a man. You can do it on your own, but that the man also adds certain type of traits in a relationship as well. And that's what you kind of learn as well with this man right here.
I remember
with you.
When I see men who aren't in the lives of their children, it actually makes me sad now. And I'm sad because I know how much joy my daughter has brought to my life.
Any father will be their daughter's first love. It's always been important, but nowadays it is even more important. You need to be there for them to teach them and show them what to expect, what to accept, and what not to deal with.
When you know what your worth is, nobody can say nothing to you. Because I don't care who you are, I know who I am. And I'll get up there and do it. And that's where I get that from, is from my father. Because if my dad doesn't talk to me like that, you can't talk to me like that. So that's where I look at my dad as my only, the only person that can say something to me. It's not like I'm not open to other people, but when it comes down to it, my father's been the biggest influence in my entire life.
It's not just being involved at these stages,
right?
From infancy to age 6. It's really up to 46 or 56 or whatever the case may be. Some of these kids grow up in their 20s with really no dad. They may have had them for the first 10, but you know, the other side of it is that we see a reflection of the generational cycle occurring with these other young black men who are a reflection of what they missed. And we're seeing it when they're older. We're seeing it being played out, right? And we see it in the incarceration rates. We see it with the drug and alcohol rates going up with amongst young black men. We see it even just with the fact that they're dropping out of high school, lack of them going to college or university. I mean, across the board, it's being impacted in different ways over time. So we have to always keep in mind it's not just a short-term investment, it's a lifetime investment that we are putting in, and that our role is literally for life, right? And that's important.
I don't know about you guys, but even before I had my daughter, I always felt like, I don't know, there was so much pressure, especially being a black male and the stereotypes surrounding, you know, black males not being there for their kids. Like I almost had to work twice as hard, you know what I mean, to show people like, hey, this is not the way it is for everyone, you know what I mean?
I think it's a real reality. I think it's not something that you should downplay, because the truth of the matter is what makes those pressures come about is the very few that are in the public eye or social media that make it seem like everybody's like that.
Me, myself, I'm a teacher, so I see firsthand a lot of fathers, even if the mother and father aren't together, these fathers are involved. And I would say a majority of the fathers are involved, right? Whether it's, you know, coming in, preparing teacher night, taking their kids to sports, checking in on what's going on. Regardless of race, I'm finding a lot of my parents, the fathers are involved. Yeah, me too. It's refreshing.
There are men who are actually raising their own children, where the women are stepping down and saying, well, I can't handle this, or they're a widower, just like our father. I think that it just depends on each circumstance.
Was the decision to take custody of your child a difficult one?
I don't know if I wasn't put in a position to make a decision. It was kind of the mother saying, hey, I ain't got no more to give, so I'm the father, so I just had to do what I had to do. There wasn't like a decision-making process. It wasn't like we sat down and had a talk. It's more like, hey, I'm in Jamaica. Hey, I'm putting him on a plane. So I figure I better be at the airport.
The fact that I am divorced, the fact that I have full legal custody with papers, with child support, with the whole nine, they usually raise their eyebrows and look at me like, wow, how did you do that? I said, well, easy, and without court. I don't have issues with my ex.
People are shocked. Like, oh my gosh, look at him with his daughter. And I think, you know, unfortunately, the society has deemed it that a father can't grow their child the way a mother could.
Someone like me rolling up with Malcolm was like eye-opening to everybody. Like, well, where's the mother? You spend about 20 minutes trying to explain that there's no female around. What? Is everything okay? And it's like, he's in some sort of crisis because there's no female around. I think I went through that from kindergarten to grade 2.
Did you find race a big issue in that?
At first, but then when you listen to people talk, you realize it's more sexism than racism. Right. Racism is there, but that's not the first and foremost. Like, I mean, I could say that, but that would be glossing over the real issue. They're used to a female. Here's some guy. So I mean, I could say yes, it's a black guy, and it's because I'm black and all this kind of stuff. But it's just because I was male.
So, Jamal, what feeling or sentiment comes to mind when someone says to you, you're babysitting or watching over your child? Has this happened to you?
It happens. My first thought is, I hope Charlie doesn't hear you say that.
Because I
Because
do not call him a babysitter.
I feel like it's a problem that people's first instinct is to say, oh, you're babysitting when you're taking care of your child. So I feel whenever that happens, like for me, you can tell it's a touchy issue for me. Like whenever it happens, I'm like on the attack. Like not so much on the attack, but I'm like, I want to combat it right then and there. You know what I mean? So I almost feel like by me not saying something, it's like
it's a teachable moment too, right?
Absolutely.
You're breaking preconceived notions, right? And so I feel like you should, correct them and let them know.
The term babysitting was for someone else to watch your child. I don't know how you can babysit your child. It's an oxymoron.
You can't get mad at people for that. Like I said, some people don't know.
I mean, partly, I don't think we should have to correct them, though.
Well,
you know what I mean?
They don't know. They don't know. Like, people just say automatically, "Oh, you're babysitting." They don't know that you're parenting. They don't even know those terms.
I pick and choose when I want to educate. Right?
Yeah,
Sometimes
sure.
I got bigger problems than what you think about me.
Yeah.
I got bigger problems right now.
Of course. If I can change that one person's view for that moment of what a quote unquote black man is doing with his son, just for that moment, then it's a victory in itself. Because that's how progress is made.
When you're a single dad, it could be something simple as when you show up at the report card meetings. You'll sit there and a teacher actually said, "Who are you?" And I was like, "I'm the father." "Why are you here?" "I don't know what to tell you, but he lives with me, so if you're expecting somebody else, you're gonna have a long wait." So when you get to court, it was I think for 5 minutes they were yelling at me to do stuff, and I'm like, "But he lives with me. I'm just here because she wants me here." So it's a very interesting dynamic and a very interesting experience to go through. I don't know if anybody else has been through it, but it's very interesting.
The role of father is almost something that is exceptional in a sense. It's like, oh, you have a father. This father is there. There's a lot of attitude where fathers, they're just kind of there. If you look at Mother's Day and Father's Day as two examples, I mean,
Malcolm will bring home a Mother's Day gift, and then Father's Day rolls around, nothing comes with it. So his mom, who's absent, has a gift made at school, but the dad who's there, no time is spent on that, and he'll tell the teacher, "Well, she's not there. She's not getting it."
No, but the school should be on top of that because that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
My son's a little feisty, he's kind of like me, so he'll let them know, like, there's no mom coming to get this, But he has to spend the time to do it, so he does.
But you know what's interesting too? I was talking to a teacher, and whenever something happens with the kid, the initial instinct is to call the mother.
As an educator, we will tend to say, "Oh, I'll call your mom," without even thinking that the father would be present and assuming that the mom is always the primary, and it's not always that case. So I think even as an educator, we always have to be mindful that the expectations are changing and fathers are present. They've always been present, but we need to acknowledge that.
Working with kids, whenever something happens, I've made a conscious decision to call the father first. You know what I mean? Just because I think I'm just trying to change that thought process that people have, right? Because I think the initial instinct is to just call the mom. Like, hey, okay, something's wrong, call mom, right?
But that's interesting too, because with Malcolm's stepmom being a teacher, it's funny when a teacher calls the house. So she'll defer to me because I'm dad and she's stepmom. And they'll be like, "Well, can I speak to his stepmother then?" I'm like, "What?" So I don't even rank higher than stepmother. Stepmother ranks higher than father in society, which is crazy. Even up to like taxes, like the CRA has a female presumption rule. So if a female comes into the household when you're a single dad, all credits that the dad was getting automatically go to the female.
Really?
That's a legit rule that you can look
Wow.
up. It's called the female presumption rule. If there's a female in the home, they automatically assume that the female is taking care of the child, even if it's not their biological child.
I could be wrong, but being black, I automatically just think in my mind, you're loving me because I'm doing it, and it's nice to see a black guy doing that.
To touch on the race part, most of that adulation that I got came from black women. So it's how you can't really call it racism if it's coming from your own race. That would be it's something internally that as black people we got to deal with. Because I found most of it didn't come from white people. Who were like, "Oh, that's your son," and they kept it moving. It was black women who were like, "Well, where's the mom?" That's ridiculous that a mom would leave her child with her father.
When I walk up in Forest Hill, everybody's melting at me when they see me walk with my son. Like I said again, maybe they're just like, it's cool, but I cannot help but think that whole piece about it's nice to see a brother carrying his child is a big thing, because we don't see that a lot.
Thank you, but if it was the mom with the stroller and the baby bag, would you be saying that to them? Would you approach this stranger and open your mouth and say this ignorant mess to them? No.
Around the 1990s, you saw this shift where, it became single moms, right? And then they said, okay, well, if mom is doing all of this work, then I don't have to be around anymore.
I commend moms that are doing it all, because I think it's a lot. I think it's a lot when there's two of you. But I think there's still an important role that happens when a dad is around.
They're not fathers. They can't be fathers. they are mothers. They are doing the best that they can with their maternal instinct to fill a role for their children, but they can't. A father is very important. It's a sense of security that you can't quite explain.
The bigger protection, like, yeah, your mom protects you and everything, but then have like a huge dude with you and you're like, you're just like super dad. Yeah.
And you can see the difference between those children and the children that have had both parents. Even if the parents are divorced, you see the difference.
A lot of mothers will brag that they have the role, but it's not that the father didn't want to be there.
The media places a certain lens on certain groups of people, and for us, a lot of it is exactly that we're not there, we have kids, we run away or we take off or whatever. It's not always the typical, oh, he doesn't want to be there. Sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Every situation is kind of different. I mean, sometimes dads get painted into a corner where they just give up because the legal system sucks. So if you don't know how to navigate it, you can get railroaded even when you're trying to do good.
They're probably getting discouraged because it is a fight and it is time consuming. There are systemic barriers, so you do have to jump through hoops. But if you persevere and you fight for your child, then the chances are that you're going to get closer to a ruling that you want in terms of being involved in your child's life. And that goes for mothers and fathers.
I'm seeing more cases of it than I've ever seen in past. I like it.
With our oldest son, I took, I was
7.5, 8?
7.5, almost 8 months of parental leave. And that was, to me, that was extremely important. It was such a monumental decision and such an amazing time.
It's so pivotal for that father to be involved in that child's infancy, just to, strengthen parental bonds and attachment. So I definitely see a growing trend.
I think it does a whole lot for your confidence as a father, your competence as a father, to be able to, be the primary caregiver.
For me anyways, as the mom, it was first a practical decision of I had just started a company. I work for myself, so I can come home at lunch and breastfeed. My work is flexible. And so we knew we wanted to share it, but at that point it was really a decision of how much does he get, how much do I get.
As a full-time artist, there's no stay-at-home dad, no one gives me paternity leave or that sort of thing. One of the beauties for me is that I worked from home, so if I didn't have a performance to do, I would always be home. So I've spent lots of time, with her doing all of the diaper changes and all of that kind of stuff. I've always been very active in that sort of thing. So, from the early goings, it wasn't something where it's just, this is, her mom has to do all this stuff, but it was really important for me, and I was there. So, when her mom had to go back to work, I was still home, and I still, got to do different things, with her and really, connect and create that bond with her.
It did so much for setting the stage in terms of sharing parenting in a really equal way, in a way that honored his capabilities as a father and let me know that he was competent and capable. He was the one at home with him for a big chunk of the time. So the benefits to me were things I couldn't have predicted.
It's openly accepted. Nobody that I know turns to their friend and goes, "You're taking paternity leave?" I believe I took some, so I think it's a good idea.
The dads that I know in my circle of friends, my colleagues, would never even think to do that because they view their work as more important. As much as they see their role as a parent, the pressures of being a provider and the pressures of bringing home money, those social forces make working outside of the home more important.
It wasn't like it was because she's a woman and she's a mom that she has to stay home. It was just, okay, I'll go to work. If I'll go to work and that will be it. And we accepted that and it worked out well for us on many different levels, not just financially, but it worked out well in the sense that when she had a meltdown, or breakdown as I like to call it, I was a phone call away and I was able to come home and hey, where is he? I'll put him to bed, no problem, I'll feed him, I'll change him, I'll make sure he's sleeping, you fall asleep on the couch and I'll let you know when I'm leaving to go back to work.
My partner was like, you go to work, instead of saying maybe stay home or I need you here, she was like, you need to go to work, you can do your thing, and I'm going to do my 3 months and I'm going to go back to work. And we had grandma helping with us too, so the same type of situation as you?
It was a little different in my house. I took 5 months, and there was, took a lot of. She wanted it to happen because she felt that it was important for me to have that time with our daughter, but it was still really hard for her to give up, that time, because it's predominantly been, the woman's time, right?
I had women being like, "You're giving up your leave. You're letting him stay home."
That was the most common thing.
Yeah.
I can't believe Charity's letting you.
I get it.
I can't believe she gave you that.
You can thank me later.
Yeah.
With the paternity thing, it was funny that because it was tax season, Tyrese didn't really know who I was till about June. So like I come home in June now and I'm touching him. He's like, so it took like about another 3 months for him to realize, oh, this is who Dad is?
Yeah.
Oh, that was the shadow that I saw. Yeah, so it was very interesting that I was away for so much that he had to get used to me.
Yeah.
It took a while for him to get used to me.
For me, we talked about taking that time off, but it just didn't make sense financially, so we decided to go with her staying at home. But as soon as I got home from school, as a teacher, I'm all hands-on, right?
Yeah.
Waking up in the middle of the night, I'm just all over that. So you do what you can, given the circumstances, and it worked out great.
I don't know if you guys get this, but when you see other dads come with their kids, and that it's that secret society.
Yeah.
The guy looks at the other dad looks at you and he's like, "Yep," and you're like, That's a happy dad look with each other, saying, "Me too, you too. Keep going, bro." Right?
Yeah.
No matter what race, too. It's not just the black guys. It's every dad that I see walking around. It's a beautiful thing to see a dad pushing his kid in a stroller, and then you're pushing your son, and that look between. It's tight and strong.
It's inspiring too. Like I have a WhatsApp group chat with a bunch of guys who most of them are fathers, and it's nice to be able to share stories, share videos, of seeing their child take a first shot at a basket and things like that, or their Halloween costume. Just being able to just encourage each other and support each other. It's a great support group, and it's all fathers just being involved, being hands-on, right? And it inspires you to even be a better man.
And you can have the most tiring, worst day ever at work or whatever, something's going on, and when you come home and see the kids, man, it's like something where it's like all that stuff is like meaningless.
Most fathers, they didn't have time to run after money, but nowadays with the woman there as a compliment for the income, it's a different issue. So you have to show your love. Even olden days, the animals, they do show love to their kids. So, but right now, since I've changed this world, you have to show whatever the wife is doing, you have to do the same thing if you want to bring your kids up well.
Anyone who knows me on a personal level, I'm a big softie, and every birthday party my daughter has, I cry at some point. She's like, I try to hug her up. She's like, "Yo, come off of me, yo," and it's so, it's like, so that's who I am. That's just part of it.
When you have a situation when you can be vulnerable with your son or daughter in a way to let them know that you have feelings and emotions and that you're a human being, they will grow more confident in themselves to know that it's okay and they can get through life knowing that they don't have to feel ashamed. They don't have to feel like they're gonna be like hidden or sheltered or shy, or have challenges mentally that can just come from the fact that they haven't had a chance to kind of express something because daddy says I should suck it up and be a man and don't cry, or whatever the case may be.
We didn't speak about love in my family. Like, someone might write it on a birthday card or whatever, but no one ever said I love you. Like, that just feels weird. Right? So now I tell her I love you all the time. And even for me, it's like, it's work. Because it's like, I'm telling this to somebody, but I never grew up hearing this. But I don't want her to feel the same things that I felt now that I know a bit more, now that I know how important these things are.
When children come in this world, they're not programmed with anything. Everything is programmed through their learning of what they're exposed to, or what they're taught. So I was really taught to be vulnerable in a way of not seeing it as a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength.
Malcolm is allowed to cry, and I don't get on him for crying. So he's very emotional. He's like the anti-me in that sense. Like, he'll cry, he'll do whatever, but I don't tell him to suck it up. I'm like, let it out. Do what you got to do so you feel better. So, but I'm more the suck it up, like, okay, well, get over it. But like, I understand with him, I can't do that, and I had to learn that because before I was, what are you crying for, man? Stop the crying, stop this long crying, man. Dry your eye, you know. But I actually had to evolve and understand that's not him.
I'm learning things too because she's growing up in a world that's completely different from the world that I knew. I mean, if I was bored, I had to go outside and find a stick and invent something with this stick. Now they have a stick on an iPod and now they're just playing all sorts of different things and it matters to them, you know, how many people like their posts and this sort of thing. So now I have to understand this new world. I have to challenge myself to not just be stuck in my old way of thinking, but to learn this new generation, this new dynamic, this new language. And through challenging myself to learn these things, I'll be better able to parent her in her own language with things that are actually relevant to her and not just be like, oh, this dinosaur talking about the olden days, but really being able to talk about what is happening now.
Your kids have to be first, period. Yes, you have to go out there and provide for them, but you can't neglect them just because you want to provide.
We both grew up with both of our dads, and I think it played a significant role in how important we think it is for our kids, and we really make an effort to make sure that he gets to engage in a meaningful way with both of them.
The best thing you can ever do is be a father and watch your kid grow and help your child develop.
There's nothing like it. It is the most beautiful, prideful thing I can think of. That, the love of a child, the hug of a child, the simple innocence of it, it will melt your heart and it will hold it, and even through the difficult times, it's worth it.
A lot of my friends, they're like, when they get older, that's when I'll jump in, or that's when I'll do my part, or be more engaged.
When they can play soccer.
Yeah. When they can like play sports,
a lot that happens
I'll get in and do that. But yeah, there's a lot that happens between that, and you're building that relationship from the get-go. And you have that ability to influence them from the get-go, and just take full advantage of that.
Figure it out. Don't let work call you and say, "Oh, I know it's 8 o'clock at night, but we have an emergency." That's good. It'll be there tomorrow too. Right now, it's home time with my kids. It's homework time, or it's bedtime, or it's reading time. Those times are important. Spend them.
Devil's advocate. Is it wrong for people to give you praise for being a father who's there, being a father who's involved? And the reason why I ask that, because to me, I feel like as our community, we need to see more of it. It
has to be a positive.
And you guys are all great examples, but I feel like we still are lacking, and we do need to see more positive examples. And so having you walking around with your son and having custody of your son and things like that, I think that's really important for people to see, and that helps break some of those preconceived notions.
Well, I think, I said praise is good, but
I love it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, so praise is good.
I step in all day with my son. I know I'm the man.
Yeah.
And when I see people look at me, you can get goosebumps down your back of your neck as you can see they looking at you like, excellent, you know? And I'm like, damn right, excellent.
It's more saying, you know what, we're appreciating what you're doing, keep on doing what you're doing. That kind of thing, and I think that's what helped build our community back up.
But I think, again, I guess with media, you know, negativity sells. So they're not going to go out there and say, oh, look at all these great black fathers.
Yeah, of course not.
Because no one cares about that. They want to highlight the negativity because that helps.
But that's why we're doing this today, though. What we're doing right now is important.
Ourselves.
That's why we're doing it right now. Exactly, and this is what it's about. So having a platform like this, and then being able to bring it to the next level, I think it's great.
One day you get to go into an actual university and teach the young men.
Educate
fathers.
If you're a father and you teach your child to know that you're always going to be there for them, you know, it's as a child, it's the greatest thing in the world.
I went and had a child at a very young age, at 21. And so I guess at that time I was like, oh my God, I do not want to be like my father, because he was just never around, and I felt like I had something to prove. That's not the focus for me anymore. I'm not trying to not be my father. I can be my own man, and as my own man, I see how I want to be a father to my children, and so that's my motivation. It's not sort of my past experiences, and so
So I feel like I'm doing a great job with my 2 girls now.
I think it's just important to always be authentic and just be yourself no matter what. Just don't change who you are, and be aware of the fact that now someone's looking up to you like a superhero.
Right.
And when they look up to you like a superhero, you have a responsibility, and that responsibility is very serious. And you have to be able to watch what you're saying, how you're walking, how you're interacting with your partner or with other people when they're in your vision, because they pick that stuff up like a sponge.
When I first got Malcolm, I was trying to be perfect. So there was, and I'm like, that just threw everything for a loop. So I had to scale back and realize, just continue to be Andrew.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I always like to tell people there's no handbook to parenting, right? So just try something, doesn't work, you learn from it, right?
Yeah, and the kids don't know.
It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes, but my advice to a young father would be to be hands-on, to get involved in as many aspects as you can. I mean, you're not going to be perfect. Like, you know, I struggle doing my little girl's hair, but I bathe her. I change diapers, do everything I can, and I also try to have activities where it's just her and I, right? Stuff that it's just her and I that we do together. So we have certain songs, we read certain books. I'm teaching her basketball. She's already shooting on the net. So I have those activities. With my oldest daughter, you know, we have our movie nights and things like that. So we just have our thing. Try to have those things, those special moments that just the 2 of you share.
It takes a really strong woman to let that guard down, to say you can take over, so to speak, or I trust you, or whatever the case may be. So I have to really just say, for me personally, I have to really let my wife know I really do thank her for just allowing me the opportunity and blessing me with a very healthy boy, and to let me really be a part of his life, literally hands-on, like to allow that.
My wife is a teacher, and I think teachers are cut from like a different class where everything is organized, everything is structured, everything is this. And I come with my free-flowing, I guess borderline hippie approach to life, where I'm like, we'll do it whenever. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you know, he runs around with just diapers on. Why doesn't he have his onesie on? Free up. I don't want it. So, you know, so she gives me the space to be the free-flowing parent. I'm not as structured as she would be. And then, you know, are you going to put him to bed at 9 o'clock if I go out? I go, maybe.
2 in the morning.
Another coach like this. You're like, yo, what's going on?
The baby's playing.
Yeah, that's so real though, man.
Being a modern day dad, what it means to me is being there for my son, being hands-on with him, making sure when I wake up and he wakes up, we're there going out together, spending some dad-son time is what makes me believe in the whole modern day dad theory.
A modern day dad means to me just kind of filling the voids, because roles are changing. I find these days in society, just kind of taking on whatever responsibility or role it, you know, with your child that's needed, right? And it might mean doing your daughter's hair, you know, where, you know, it's not something you normally would do, right?
My son is an individual, and with my son, he has strengths and talents of being who he is. His name is Isaiah, and that's who he is. He's not Mark Dunn. He is not my brother. He is not my dad. He is not my wife's nephew. He is literally his own self. And because of that, the modern day approach is always saying to him, congratulating him, loving him, hugging him, supporting him, encouraging him, embracing his strengths and talents, and letting him know that he's the best thing that's out there. And the reason why, the more he feels good about himself in his younger years, the more he'll actually believe that about himself. So I'm a firm believer in affirmations that are real, but are real from the lens of who he is, not where I want him to be. He is not an apprentice. He is a human being. So that to me is important as being a modern day dad with a modern day approach.
A modern day dad, to me, just means being hands-on, just being involved in any aspect that you can. And you see that there's a lot of challenges that occur, but you do your best, you know, and that's it. You just, a modern day dad, you just need to just love your children.
I have no idea what a modern day dad is. I'm honest, I don't know what an old school dad was to compare it with a modern day dad. All I can say is every dad just has to do them. And exist in that, you know, I assume everything a parent does is going to be out of love. So just keep doing actions out of love, and if that makes you a modern day dad, so be it. If that makes you a regular day dad, old school dad, future dad, I don't know, just keep doing things out of love and your kids will be fine.
Pleasure, man. All right.
Yeah, man.